Hello everyone out there in YouTube land, my name is Will, this is Will of the Nerds, and we're back with another deck tech video over here on Deck Stats. And today, we're going with apparently my favorite theme, which is, tribal decks, that's it. And this one is a boar deck, so we are going to type in boars, and casual play as usual. We'll hit OK. And this one is a Gruul. Is it Gruul? Yeah, red and green, I believe, is what Gruul is. I don't have any dual lands in here, but we are going to remedy that in this deck tech because I know I have some Gruul gates to put in this deck, so that's going to be taken care of. So we're just going to go through and get the basic lands out, and then I'll subtract probably 2 off of each basic land for a total of 4 altogether. But we have forests here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to put 10 in. We're going to hit enter. We're going to set them off to the side, and now we're going to go to the mountains. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So again, we're going to put 10 in. Boom, boom, enter, and then we're going to come over here, and we're going to put in Gruul Gilgate, and we are going to put a play set of them in, and that's what, 24 lands. Awesome. Yeah, just the Ravnica Allegiance, that works. And now I have played this deck recently, so there's cards all over the place, so I'm just going to go through. We're going to get rid of the green cards first, and those are the ones we're going to work with. And I do have an empty sleeve here, which means there is one card that I'm looking to add to this, and I think I know what it is already. And I just want to look here. Vigilance, Trample, Haste, enters the battlefield. Other creatures you control get a +2. Yeah, I think it's End Raise Forerunners is what I need one more of. Yeah, so we're going to put that in. We have 2 of, so let's type that in. Oops. Of course, you know, I do not know how to spell. That is 8 mana. Wow, surprising. And we have, is it Kaldheim? No, it's not. It's from Ravnica Allegiance. 2 of, that is what the empty sleeve I have is for. So, that is done and out of the way. Now we can go through the rest of it. There's not too many rare cards in this. It's not, as you probably could guess, it's not a very competitive deck, I would say. It's a tribal deck. I had, like most of my decks, I just had some boars, and I was like, most of these don't really fit into any other decks that I'm making, so we'll throw them in the own deck. And I was like, yeah, it's basically what I did with my spider deck, too. They're not real competitive. They're just extra cards that I had left over to throw into decks. All right, so Fester. Okay, let's take a look at this before we get too far ahead and I forget. Vigilance, Trample, Haste. When it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get a +2/+2 and Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. And then Festerhide Boar does what? It has Trample and enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it if a creature died this turn. Okay, cool. I don't think there's any like kill spells in this deck, but you can play it after your combat phase and play that down if something were to die. And we have a couple fogs in here, and they're in here basically to protect you from flying, because obviously you have boar cards. They're all ground cards. There's no flying, so fogs in here help you prevents all combat damage, but it's mainly in there to protect you from flying creatures. If somebody has superiority in the air, then you can just play that and take care of it. And then we have 2 of, this is a rare card, Copper Hoof Vorak. Oops, there's not 2 H's in it. There's only 1. And we have 2 of these. And a lot of these are actually pretty high mana cost, aren't they? Okay, Mirrodin is the only set it is from. Easy enough. Gets a +1/+1 for each untapped permanent your opponent controls. That's pretty cool, actually. Maybe go through and add another one of them if some of these don't really have anything good. Because that could get pretty... I mean, if you're opponent's playing control and you have it down, then they might have some stuff untapped. But yeah, that's should give you a decent buff for that creature. Now we have Sylvan Might for a 2/of. They're both from Eternal Masters. Let's look here. Eternal Masters, and this is just a buff card. So target creature gets +2/+2 and trample till end of turn. It has flashback, so you can cast it again for double the mana, which is fine, but it's a buff card, which is good. This is basically what you want to do. Your boars are going to run over your opponent, is basically just the gist of it. And then we have a couple plummets in here to help with, again, flying creatures, because there's no flying. I don't think there's any reach in this. These are, we're going to say M19 because they're probably about the same. This destroys target creature with flying, I believe. Yep. And look at that, TCG player. You can buy it for 1 cent. Cheap card. This is probably going to be another cheap deck. I think most of my decks are $50 or less. So they're fairly price friendly. What the hell is the actual word it's called? Okay, so this is Brendel Shoat is what we need. You're up here, and this is Jumpstart? Is that what it's from? Yeah, it's from Jumpstart. Okay. And what do you do? When it dies, create a 3/3 board creature token. So 2 mana for a 1/1, but it's basically meant to chump block, and you get a bigger creature out of it. So yeah, by turn 3, you're getting a 3/3. It kind of works out. And this one, archetype of Endurance. I need a couple more of these. I think this is one of the most expensive cards in this. I want to get a couple more to put in other decks. Born of the Gods. I think it gives trample. Creatures you control have hexproof. Creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and can't have or gain hexproof. So I do want this in a couple other decks. It's a creature, which means it can get killed, but they can't target it. So yeah, it's creatures you control, that's including it. So it can't be targeted, which is nice. And now we'll go into all of the red cards we have. And I think this is where most of the rest of the bulk comes from. All right, so now let's take a look and see what we have here. I think it's basically 2/ofs for everything else. Most of them look like they are like enchantments and instants or sorceries. So we have Giant. No wonder I didn't spell it wrong. Giant Spectacle. Where are you? There we go. We have 2/of. This is what? Kaladesh? Giant Spectacle. Kaladesh. Yep. And it is an enchantment. Enchant creature gets +2/+1 and has menace. It's a 2-drop, but you do have some bigger creatures that you could put this on and make them more of a threat, especially if it has trample. Now it has trample and menace. And that is nice. I really enjoy that. So you're just making some of your bigger creatures, if you get them out, more of a threat. All right. This one is what? Ilharg. I didn't spell that right. It's only one L. Ilharg the Raised Boar, yes. 2/of these. I got one of these out of a pack, and then I had to buy the other one. It took me a while to get one. Because, yeah, it's still pretty expensive, but he's in here because, one, he's a boar. It's a god. I think this is what the deck's kind of based around. When it's attack, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. When Ilharg the Raised Boar dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, third from the top. I would like to get a couple more of these for a couple other decks, but it's a boar. It helps me get my other boars out quicker, and if they all have trample, or if they're all getting buffs, it's going to hurt even more. And hopefully you have a couple big boars that you're going to have to worry about. So you have this as a 6/6 on turn 5. And then if you get another one tapped and attacking and you can put another spell on it to buff it, then it's just going to be, you're going to have another like a 4/4 or a 5/4 coming down at you with trample, and if it has menace, then there's not really much they can do. They're going to be taking at least 5 or 6 to the face. Okay, now we have, nope, that's not the right one. Messenger's Speed. This is probably a card that can be switched out for something. It's in here just because I really didn't have anything else to put in here. And I think it just gives a creature haste, right? Oh, okay. Enchanted creature has trample and haste. So it's in there for that trample effect. Not so much the haste, but it is a 1-drop enchantment that can get down and buff your creature real quick and give them, if they can't attack that turn, but they have a threat of, obviously, trample. Next thing we have is Blade Tusk Boar for 2 of. And this is from M13. Okay, so they're from 2 different sets. Okay, so we need 1 down. One is from M13, and the other one looks like it's from Journey into Nyx. So there we go. What do you do? Oh, it has Intimidate. Cool. So Intimidate, making stuff have haste, making stuff have trample. So it needs to be a quick deck. Actually, probably throwing some green stuff in here to get some mana might be the better way to go rather than some of these other spells. Magmatic Chasm for a 2 of. So yeah, like there for a while when I was playing, just until maybe last year, I didn't really play a whole lot of like green fetch stuff. I just didn't see a point in it. I'd rather just have more land. But sometimes when you're playing decks with bigger creatures, it's more beneficial to have stuff to get cards that help you get more land out. Because as you can see on the right-hand side there, like there's a lot of stuff that has high mana cost. Anyway, creatures without flying can't block this turn. That helps. You can probably just switch this out for a couple plummets too if you don't want this in here. But it opens up a way for your creatures to attack if they only have flying stuff. If your opponent only has flying stuff. Okay, so we only have a couple more red cards. So we have Ravaging Blaze for 2 of. An instant, where are you? Down here. You're from Origins. Ravaging Blaze. It deals X damage to target creature. If there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it also deals X damage to that creature's controller. Awesome. So hopefully there's a chance that you have an instant or sorcery in your graveyard for that effect. So chances are I would save this for like a later game thing to help push over into doing that little bit of extra damage. And we have Flame Slash next for 2 of. And where are you? Flame Slash. This is Conspiracy. And it is just a burn spell, I believe. 4 damage to target creature. Yep. Easy enough. Also, like that's in there to help with flying creatures, as you can probably tell. Alright, and then we have 6 things left here. So let's get the multicolored ones done. And we have Outland Boar for the next card. And I hit the caps lock. We don't want that. Outland Boar for a 2 of. This is from Kaladesh 2. Let's go down. There it is. Aether Revolt. Whatever. Same thing. Outland Boar. I keep wanting to say Outlander Boar. Outlander Boar can't be blocked by creatures with a power 2 or less. I mean, it's a 4-drop 4/4. So chances are by the time this, I mean, it keeps people from chump blocking it. You might be able to find something a little better to put in there other than this. But, it works. It's a boar creature I think I might have had more in there. Either that or I had another girl-colored boar that didn't do anything, so I took it out. And next we have Zertaw Swine. And there it is. Wow, there's a couple Zertaw stuff. So it must be... That's a beast. I think I might actually have that. Anyway, last one down here, Gate Crash. It does some stuff. It has Blood Rush, so if I pay 1 colorless, 1 red, and 1 green, discard this. Target attacking creature gets +5/+4 until end of turn. So, I mean, it's basically in there to just kind of hold. You can also put it out. It's a 5/4, so it's pretty big pretty big boar, but, you know, you can also discard it to give your other boar a nice buff, especially if it already has trample. Then, like as if you have something out that has trample, like Ilharg, which is what, a 6/6, and you give them menace, and then you add that, and if they only have one creature out, that's 11 damage right away. Like that's a lot of damage. All right, and then the last boar we have is Decimator of Provinces for 2 of, and that would be our 60 card main deck. Eldritch Moon. Let's take a look and see what this abomination does. It's an Eldrazi boar. Emerge. You can pay that. You may cast this spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the emerge cost, reduced by that creature's converted mana cost. Okay, so you can sacrifice a creature and pay for that emerge cost, which is 1 less than just paying the regular cost. When you cast Decimator Provinces, creatures you control get a +2/+2 and trample until end of turn. It has trample and haste. So, I mean, that's even better if you get this out. It has trample and haste to begin with. You give it menace, and then maybe you buff it with the other thing by discarding it. That's 13. And then if you're able to do a couple of the enchantments on it, that's, I mean, you might be able to do like 15 damage if people aren't careful and you have that out, because it already has haste. So, all right, and with that, we're going to save. Come on, it's taking a while. There we go. Okay, 4 enchantments, 8 instants, 4 sorceries, 20 creatures, 24 lands. Let's look at the details here. All right, yeah, the mana source is split in half. There's a little more green than there is red. Really, there's a lot of 2-drop stuff? That's surprising. It feels like there's a lot more, like, bigger stuff in here. All right, so search for the most expensive thing. Ilharg the Raised Boar. How much is Decimator of Provinces now? Okay, that's not bad at all. That went down a lot. And again, $26. Take out $1.80. So $2 is $24 deck. All right. We can go to the visual spoilers here, take a look at what they are again. So there you go for that. And we can do our little pseudo hand here to see. I don't know if I'd keep this. Usually with my friends and I, we get 1 free mulligan when we play. And we've got basically the same thing except with 2 mountains instead of 2 forests. All right. So we're just going to keep that. Add a mountain, draw a card, play that, draw a card. Oh, I mean, we got our mountains for days. That doesn't really help us with anything. I mean, you could do that just to do damage to something. We need a green mana. Okay, so, I mean, at this point, you can do that to do 4 damage to a creature to blow it up. Jeez, just all red mana. We got 4 red mana. That doesn't help us. If we get 1 more, we could play that. But, I mean, yeah, look at that. There we go. Speaking, hoping you shall receive, right? Trample when it attacks. It doesn't have haste. So, yeah. Okay, so there you go. It has a 6/6. And you can prevent combat damage. So, comes to your turn. You have another one, but it's legendary. You need a green mana to do this. But what can you do here? It already has trample, so there's no point doing that. So there's nothing to do. You can't play anything green. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in hand. Draw. Now you have to discard or play your red card. You might as well just discard that at this point. Hey, sheesh. Wow, you're really getting screwed on green mana, aren't you? Probably just discard that at this point. There, now you finally got your freaking forest. So, hopefully this is still out. Or not this. This is still out. Vigilance, Trample, Haste. When it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get a +2/+2 vigilance and trample until end of turn. So that's 8 mana, and we don't have enough for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 3 more mana. Oh, we got 6. So yeah, we need 2 more green mana to even do that. All right. So I honestly would play this. I would discard it. Pay that cost, discard this card, give this a +5/+4 till end of turn, so it's an 11/10, and attack with trample, and you're either going to kill some stuff and hopefully roll over and do a little bit of damage. Hopefully they don't have anything to kill this, but even if they do, you have another one. When it attacks, you may put a creature from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. There you go. End raise Forerunners, so that's tapped and attacking now. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get a +2/+2 until end of turn, vigilance, and trample. So, yeah, there you go. So it's now a 12/11 for Ilharg, and that's a 9/9. They have trample. It has haste. You're going to do some damage, more than likely. So, yeah, I mean, you had to wait a while to get your mana, but turn 10... like, if they don't block it, they're dead. Simple as that. They have to block it. They're still going to be taking a decent amount of damage because they both have trample. And then this is going to go to your hand, and you can draw. All right, so we have a sorcery in here. We need another sorcery for it to trigger that ability to roll over onto the player. But you do have 2 fogs in hand. So let's see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 cards in hand. I would honestly just prevent damage next time they attack. You're going to have to play defensive. Now you finally have that. Cool. Maybe you play Ravaging Blaze just to try to clear the path and destroy a creature. Because you still, I mean, you can't play this till next turn. So we add another card. We have this, but we don't have enough mana to play it. So I'm going to say you've done at least like 6 damage by turn 13, which isn't the best. But you have your 2 green mana, so we can play Copperhoof Vorak. And it gets a +1/+1 for each untapped permanent your opponents control, which, if you're playing multiplayer, can get pretty crazy, which is probably why I would add a couple more of these in there. I would probably have a playset of them in there, in all honesty, for me, playing multiplayer. But it's going to be, yeah, this is going to be a bit to try to keep track of because it's so late in game for me to do it mentally in my head. So, I mean, if you can stay alive to this point, I think it's going to be, you're probably going to be pretty good. If you can keep Ilharg alive and attack when you have chances, you're going to be able to throw some stuff down. So if you attack, you can throw End Rays down again. Like, maybe that would be the best thing, to keep End Rays Forerunners in your hand and just keep throwing it down whenever this attacks, to just buff all of your creatures whenever you attack. And it gives them trample. So, again, it enters the battlefield. So you can just get that ability over and over again off of Ilharg. And, like, that sucks, is you can't have 2 of them. You might, I mean, depending on how bad you want to go, you can add something in here that gives you a non-legendary version of this card. And then you can just stack it. But having Copperhoof out, Ilharg, and just maybe like a cheaper board to, you know, attack with, or like chump block, like this, some of the other ones, maybe like this if you didn't discard it, and then just use Ilharg and Enraise just back and forth every time you attack, and then buff it when you can with other little spells. That might be the better route to go, instead of having Ravaging Blaze and stuff in there. Maybe putting stuff into to deter flying creatures. Actually, Sandworm Convergence might be a good thing to throw in here. You know how I love that card. But anyway, we can look at the probabilities, and we will let it go there. So if you guys could please like, subscribe, share, hit that bell icon, that way you get notified every time I upload a new video. You can follow me over on Facebook and Twitter. The links to those are in the description. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one.